Welcome, ladies. It's so good to have you all here for today's Business Women Australia interactive webinar and Q&A with Dr. Sacha Fulton. We're going to be delving deep into a really great subject, and one that's relevant not just to us as individuals, but also to us as leaders and managers of teams, and that is high-performing cultures, lessons from elite athletes. Before we start, what I'd like to do is just say who I am. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Lyn Hawkins. I'm the National Director of Business Women Australia, and I'd love to have a chat to you if you're a new or considering to be a member. I'd love to have a chat to you about what we're all about. So I'll hang on after the webinar and we can have a bit of a chat. It's always good to do a bit of networking afterwards as well. But my contact details are lyn@businesswomenaustralia.com.au. And I'd like to acknowledge the country on which we're all meeting today. We've just been having a bit of a chat amongst ourselves before we've started this recording. We've got ladies from all over the country. I'm actually on the land of the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation. And I'd like to acknowledge that we are meeting on sacred and sovereign Indigenous lands wherever we may be in Australia. It's been lived, danced and celebrated on for 60 to 120,000 continuous years. And we pay our respects to all Indigenous elders, past, present and those emerging. And we celebrate our Indigenous sisters in business. So for those of you who don't know much about Business Women Australia, this is our vision. We're actually a collaborative community demonstrating a new way of working together, raising the visibility of women in business with a shared mission to actually help each other achieve our goals and dreams, and to build a network of influence that creates opportunities for Business Women Australia. So we do a lot of things together. Our program and all our events is designed with all our premium members, and they are our knowledge experts and our thought leaders. And by that way, we're actually co-creating and being able to deliver on these 5 areas of development: leadership, business improvement, personal growth, influence and profile, and of course, connecting. So we share a lot of values as a community, and one of the most important values that we share is that we really believe that together we achieve more. And we do this with a very open heart in relation to our inclusion and diversity. We're brave, we step up, even though we know that quite often we don't feel perfect enough to do it, but we have courage, we have the honesty to give each other true feedback so that we can keep improving, keep being lifelong learners. We collaborate, we have open minds, we share the values of being conscious and caring and being more mindful about what we do, how we behave, how we think, how we act. And we bring to, hopefully when we can, the positivity and energy that's based in optimism. Though being honest, sometimes, you know, things are tough. So we quite often have opportunities where, you know, we have to be held and space needs to be held for us too as we develop. One of the best things about being in this community, and I'm saying this from my heart, is the connections and friendships. Last week we had a Christmas in July at Rockingham. It's the first time I've been with that amazing community. And it made me realise that it doesn't matter whether it's Rockingham in Western Australia or the Sunshine Coast, Brisbane, Hobart, Melbourne, Sydney, wherever it is where our community of women are meeting, there's such a beautiful acceptance and generosity of spirit and honesty. So there's loads of benefits that also come from working and collaborating with us. We provide a platform for women to share their knowledge. It's a platform for women to tap into the knowledge of experts as well. We could not do what we do without our partners, and we thank Torrens University Australia. We thank Catco Enterprises. We have the wonderful Kathy Smith online today, who's one of our major sponsors, in fact, and invested fully in Business Women Australia. She's developing our Southwest region, looks after our chapter leaders in the Mandurah Murray, the Pinjarra and Bunbury areas. And not only that, as a digital marketer, Kathy and her team look after our website and all our social media and digital engagement absolute powerhouse, and we could not do what we do without Kathy and Catco Enterprises. Solo accounts, Anne-Marie Cross, Intact Teams, of course, Fire Up Coaching. I have online here the lovely Kerry Nobes, who's doing Fire Up Coaching course with me and with Kathy as well. So Fire Up Coaching has joined forces with us to provide a pathway for people who want to improve their ability to coach others, whether or not that's in their leadership roles or whether or not they really want to actually step up as a new business owner in a coaching arena, or they might be coaching and want to get an accredited coaching qualification. So if that sounds interesting to you, then I would love you to check that out on our website. And of course, the team at Hawkins Marketing that help us with our strategy side of things. So Torrens University have offered all their short courses free for our members. So if you're thinking about joining and you want to refresh your knowledge, you've got access to thousands of dollars worth of short courses. They're 45 to 90 minutes long, and they sit in the background under the resources tab. So you just log in as a member, jump into the education short courses in our resources, and you can access whatever you want and do those at your own pace. They're all online. And of course, we've got so much going on around our community, even in-person events in a lot of cases. Of course, we've had to postpone a couple, one in Melbourne that was due this Friday, which we've pushed out. Bunbury, another Christmas in July. Kathy, you've got on Thursday, of course. That's going to be gorgeous. You must be enjoying all your Christmas in July dinners and lunch. But for those of you in the southwest or anywhere around the Bunbury region, that'll be really worth going and having a great opportunity to connect with that great community in Bunbury. Brisbane's got an in-person event coming up, a roundtable hosted with Helen Nan. And that's going to be a really great opportunity for a small group. I think it's limited to 12 or 10 ladies, and it's a real opportunity to share business opportunities, challenges, and really get to know each other at a deeper level around your business. On the 27th of July in Perth, we have another face-to-face hosted by Vita Carlino in her brand new space called Inspiration Space. It's not quite finished, but she thinks it's going to be fine for us to have our courageous conversation in there. And that will be a wonderful opportunity for us to get back together in the Perth community. Online, again, building capability beyond the crisis. This was a Sydney event. We've moved it online. Of course, with the lockdown, we've changed the in-person event to the 31st of August. But it'd be a great opportunity for those of you who couldn't go to that. We had a lot of people that were interested in that panel. We've got Shane Nealon, we've got Danielle Dobson, and we've got the amazing Kerry-Ann Turner, 3 business leaders actually sharing what it is around building capability in your teams and what's required. So that is a really great panel event, and it'll be online. Good opportunity, even for those of you who are going to the Sydney event, great chance to jump on and meet each other. And outside Sydney, we can all jump on too. Tuesday, the 3rd of August, we've got the amazing Catherine Porritt. She's a marketing strategist who really gets pricing strategies. And this is something that's a bit of a bugbear with me and women. Women quite often undervalue their worth. Catherine's in a completely different field when it comes to ultra premium pricing. It's taking the luxe brand positioning strategy for pricing, even in the services and professional services industry, where you are the best and you know that what you deliver is transformational, and being able to price according to that. So I'm really excited about having that Q&A online with Catherine on the 3rd of August, because it's even challenging me the way she thinks. And I think it's really good for us to stretch our mindsets and our paradigms around these sorts of strategies and tactics. 5th of August, we've got another online event. So there's loads for us to reconnect online. We have an agribusiness panel. The 3 fabulous business leaders in the agribusiness space we've got there is Julia Spicer. She's from Gundawindi. She looks after the business hub there and has an amazing reputation in rural, regional and female networks, and as a business leader in her own right. She's coming on board with value creators, Anne-Marie Callahan, and she's got a background in the West Australian rural and regional areas in her strategic advice. And Laurie Arnold, who's actually worked for many years with CSBP, She's in the Esperance area, which is in the southern region of WA. So that's going to be a really interesting panel, looking at what sort of growth strategies that really are working, especially now with all the limitations that businesses are finding with tariffs and export restrictions and all sorts of issues around their major trading partners. So that's going to be a great panel. And then on the 20th of August, we've got our Melbourne Business Women's Lunch. Sadly, I'm meant to be in Melbourne this week, and I would have been with the ladies on Friday this week at Pope Joan, but we've pushed that out to the 20th of August because of the lockdown. So keep an eye on our calendar. If you want to be involved and just want to jump in, you can jump into any of these events and book in as a non-member. You don't have to be a member to come along. But it's a good idea to register for our e-news. You'll find that on our contact form. I think it's around that area to subscribe to e-news. So you get in our inbox all our updates, and follow on Eventbrite as well, so you get a notification when we put up a new event. It doesn't cost a lot to be a member. We love our members to come on board as financial members, because that does help us fund all the contractors that help us in the background, getting these events up, managing them, promoting them, doing all the things that from an administrative and marketing point of view really does help to have some contractors paid. But most of what we do is done by volunteers and partners like Kathy and her team, like the Solo Accounts and Donna's team. They're all like working there in the background doing all these amazing things without adding cost structures to the association. So without further ado, I am going to introduce the beautiful Sacha Fulton. Sacha and I go back a few years now. I was trying to think before, when I first met Sacha, she just kind of, she'd left her role at the Institute of Sport and had really thought that she wanted to go out on her own and start up her own business. And in that, since that time, she's had a little baby as well. So talk about doing everything. Sacha is just amazing. She's an accredited sports scientist, a preparation specialist for athletes, and an advisor to high-performing business teams and executives. She has a PhD with the Australian Institute of Sport, and she's helped prepare numerous Olympic teams and worked at the West Australian Institute of Sport, assisting athletic improvement of Olympic and aspiring Olympic hopefuls. You'll get to understand how much passion Sacha has for helping ambitious people to unlock their potential and reach their goals. It just oozes out of her passion. She's a surf lifesaver. She's a keen athlete herself. She's completed the Rottnest Island Channel crossing on 6 occasions. My God, for those of you on the East Coast, that is not a small swim. That's massive. She's an adventure enthusiast, no surprises there, and her favourite travels include a hike to Mount Everest Base Camp and a 1,700-kilometre on foot over 60 days of the Camino de Santiago. So I will absolutely stop sharing now and let Sacha actually get her screen up. While she's doing that, I'd love to let you know that if you do have any questions during Sacha's her presentation, please feel free to put them in the chat box. I'll keep an eye on that, and I will actually interrupt Sacha if I need to. Otherwise, we'll go through those at the end. So feel free to use the chat box. And of course, it will be recorded and available on our website. So if you know of anyone else who would get value from hearing Sacha's amazing presentation and being connected to Sacha, please, you know, we're all eyes and ears and supporters of each other. So that's a part of what we need to do as women, is really help raise each other's profile and connect each other with key other people of influence and potential clients. So over to you, Sacha.
Well, Lyn, I wanted to tell you a story that was a very prominent part of my life a long time ago now, back in 2004. I was in Hawaii for the Ironman World Championships. So for those of you who don't know, Ironman is a long course triathlon. It comprises of a 3.8 kilometre swim, a 180.2 kilometre bike ride, and then a marathon, a 42.2 kilometre run. So once a year, the World Championships is held in Kona, Hawaii. And I was lucky enough to qualify off the back of a race in New Zealand in 2004. Now, what sets Hawaii apart from every other Ironman around the world are the conditions. So you get a little bit of an idea seeing that bike photo of me in the middle there. You're literally cycling over lava fields. You're running through the lava. It's incredibly hot. It's incredibly humid. And I made a catastrophic mistake in the preparation for this event. My physical preparation was absolutely fantastic, but on the day of the event, I decided for some reason that I didn't need to wear sun cream. And you can only kind of imagine the state of my back at the end of 11 hours of racing in the heat. With no sun cream in the back. So look, that was one of the lessons that I learned from that event. But really what this event was the catalyst for was the lessons that I learned from the elite athletes that we race side by side. So I am in no means classifying myself as an elite athlete. But when you race an Ironman, it's the only event in the world where the professional athletes race alongside the amateurs. So in the lead up to the race, you're having presentations from the elite athletes. Within the race, you're not quite rubbing shoulders with the elites because they're a little bit further up the road, but you're actually in that same event with the elite athletes. And whilst it didn't occur to me at the time, now I look back on that experience and I see that was really the catalyst for my journey sort of going into my own business. So I wanted to welcome you to lessons learned from elite athletes. I wanted to share with you my purpose, which is to unlock possibility and cultivate greatness for individuals to achieve their full potential. Through my studies as a Doctor of Sports Science, the lessons I've learned from Olympic and Paralympic athletes, and my life journey, I bring an elite mindset to organisations to enable high performance and develop team culture. I believe that success is what happens when preparation meets knowledge. So as Lyn shared a little bit about me, I was an Ironman triathlete. I'm currently a passionate open water swimmer. I'm an accredited sports scientist, an athlete preparation specialist, creator of Peak Preparation, my business, a lover of travel, which I've almost forgotten what that is, but we'll get that back there, and mother to a 19-month-old baby girl called Ashley. I've had a really blessed career working with some absolutely fantastic organisations that has certainly, again, been the catalyst to this journey that I find myself on now as a sole trader of a business. And I've also had some really key experiences along the way, which I deem have shaped, where I am today. I was very lucky to complete my PhD with the Australian Paralympic swimming team. I started that back in 2005. And I found myself going to the Beijing Paralympic Games in 2008 and the London Paralympic Games in 2012. I cycled my bike through Europe on numerous occasions. As Lyn mentioned, I hiked 1,700 kilometres over the Camino de Santiago a couple of years ago just to find myself. And one of the pinnacles of my travel events has been hiking almost up to the top of the world to Mount Everest Base Camp, which is 5,500 metres above sea level. When I left WACE, which was back in 2018, I was given this beautiful picture frame with depicting 5 athletes who I spent a lot of time helping with on their athletic careers. This framed picture happens to be in my bathroom, so of course I see it on a daily basis. And it's funny because it's really been every time I look at it, I feel like I see something else in the pictures that I'm seeing. So I won't go into a huge amount of detail about the athletes that are depicted in this, this beautiful frame, but just to give you an idea, we've got some incredibly talented athletes here. So the beautiful Blair Evans, a swimmer, so she has been to 2 Olympic Games. She just competed in the Olympic trials for Tokyo 2021 and narrowly missed a spot. Tamsin Cook below her, also a swimmer. She qualified for her first Olympics in 2018 as an absolute youngster, 16, 17. Retired in 2018 and amazingly has just come back to the sport and qualified herself for the 2021 Tokyo Olympics. Elizabeth Parnoff, one of Australia's incredible pole vaulters. Eamon Sullivan, multiple Olympic medalist and world record holder. And of course, the gorgeous Laura Mitchell, gymnast, whose most sort of prolific achievement was her 2010 World Championships on the floor. And it was really, yeah, kind of looking at these beautiful celebrations that I started having a good understanding of what it was that we can take away from elite sport. So, you know, when we look at this picture, we're really seeing athletes celebrate success. You know, Liz Parnoff is almost celebrating success in the air before she's even landed on the mat. We've got athletes fist pumping the air. We've got athletes standing on the medal dais. We've got athletes wearing, you know, showing pride by wearing an Australian tracksuit with the green and gold and the Olympic flags and the Australian flags. And then it's also knowing the adversity that all of these athletes have overcome to reach these goals. You know, no athlete here has had a journey of complete breeze. Elizabeth Parnoff broke her leg and came back to compete on the world stage. Tamsin Lewis had a car accident that retired her from swimming before coming back and making another Olympic team. So I think it's been looking at these photos on a daily basis that have helped shape this presentation as it is. So today we're going to cover the importance of celebrating success, having pride, overcoming adversity, building resilience, and of course, trying to establish a growth mindset. So I wanted to celebrate, by celebrating success. And I think a really nice story that we've recently seen in the news is the recent soccer Euros. So Italy beat the UK, beat England. And even in Australia here, you know, we've got a huge, Kerry, you're probably aware of the incredible Italian culture that exists in Melbourne, you know, Lygon Street with its incredible Italian restaurants. I know you're in lockdown now, but thank goodness just a few days ago, almost, your Italian community was able to incredibly celebrate that super exciting success, which I think was, especially with the year that's been, it was even more than just winning a soccer world championships. You know, it was, we're almost there. We're almost coming out of this worldwide pandemic, you know, so it was kind of this, it was a nice opportunity, if you like, for everyone to kind of jump on board and celebrate something, no matter what that was. So when we have a look at, you know, the reasons to celebrate success in more detail, there's actually quite a few scientific studies that have been done to help us understand why it is so critical to celebrate these small successes. So learning and adapting, you know, being able to work out what has gone well so that we can replicate that is one of the key reasons to celebrate success. We know that the more we celebrate success, the more we give ourselves an opportunity to develop a success mindset. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit more detail later on. Celebrating success motivates people. It provides an opportunity to be successful. And again, we know that every success we celebrate, it gives us the opportunity to continue on our success path and to find something else to celebrate. One of the key reasons, in fact, they say the key reason to celebrate success is simply because it feels good. You know, you're standing in front of a crowd of people, you've just performed at your best, you're pumping a fist, whether it's that or whether you're having a glass of wine at the end of a day to celebrate getting through the day, it feels good. So why not do more of it? Dopamine is what we call a happy chemical. And every time we actually celebrate success, dopamine gets released. And of course, the body then says, hey, this feels extra good. We want even more of that. And I think another really key reason is to be able to share success. And I think that's also where sport comes into play so well, is that it gives us an opportunity to share success on a broader level. So again, going back to the examples of Italy winning Euros, it doesn't matter that we're not, you know, some of us might have Italian heritage, but it doesn't matter even if you don't have Italian heritage. Seeing the Italians celebrate as they did, you can't help but be happy for them. And you can't help but want to have a little bit of that yourself. So, and you know, that's a key reason as to why I love this organisation of Businesswomen Australia as well, is that I think it gives women the opportunity to share each other's success, which just saying that actually gives me goosebumps because I find that incredibly powerful. So how do elite athletes celebrate success? Standing on top of the medal dais, fist pumping, smiling, being able to show emotion. You know, the beautiful Serena Williams, who I've depicted here, you know exactly what is going through Serena's head and heart when she plays. She's very outward with her emotion. When she's happy, she's just all muscle and excitement. And when she's sad, even for the great woman that she is, she'll hunch her shoulders a little bit and, you know, make herself look a little bit smaller. And you really get to sort of go on that journey of emotion with her. You know, for our athletes returning from overseas, we'll sing the national anthem as they stand atop the medal dais. We throw them ticker tape parades. They raise their arms in victory. If you like, elite athletes get so many opportunities to celebrate success. So what I want you guys to start thinking about as you're tuning into this webinar are what are some of the ways that you can celebrate success for yourself? And then more than that, what are some of the ways that you can help your team to celebrate success? So just kind of have that in the back of your mind as we finish this topic on celebrating success. The other thing that I wanted to share with you around celebrating success is the growth aspect of celebrating success. So every time you give yourself an opportunity to celebrate success, you're actually helping yourself develop a success mindset. And what we know is that developing a success mindset really does require cultivation. So celebrating success and developing a success mindset really go hand in hand. We talk about being able to celebrate every success, you know, no matter how small that success might be. There was a wonderful presentation that was done by a US Marine back a few years ago, and it became a very famous YouTube video. And he was presenting to a group of college students who had just completed their degree. And he talked about making your bed in the morning and the importance of making your bed in the morning, you know, because it was something that was drilled into him as a Marine, but he was able to see that it was something that was greater than that. It meant that when you came home at the end of the day, even if you hadn't had a good day, at least you'd made your bed. So you'd still accomplish something, and that was still a very small reason to celebrate. Being able to develop your success mindset and a reason to celebrate through affirmations and visualizations. I think this is something that elite athletes do very well as well. Coming from an endurance background myself, where your event is not a small event, especially an Ironman. You know, I've got 11 or 12 hours to kind of think about my life alongside racing. And you start, the benefit of having a small mantra in the back of your head, you know, just to help keep yourself grounded. So if you feel like something is coming unstuck in the race, if you're not sure that you're following your race plan, to be able to come back to your mantra is a really important run. Just to share my mantra, I was always strong in the swim and I was very strong on the bike. So my mantra started with swim like a dolphin. Okay, great, feeling good. Ride like the wind. Amazing, I'm totally there. The run was never my great leg, so my running mantra was always outrun the flies. If I had flies buzzing around my face, I wasn't running fast enough. So outrun the flies became my running mantra, and that was enough to focus on, you know, what I was accomplishing, every step that I was taking, because every step that I took got me closer to that end goal of being able to sit down and finish the race. When we talk about developing a success mindset, you know, are we at a point where we can help ourselves build self-confidence by actually standing in front of a mirror and saying to ourselves, I am successful. You know, I can succeed because I've succeeded before. We tend to have this, we tend to be very good at downplaying success, or possibly thinking that the only reason we've succeeded is because of luck or because of somebody else. But the importance of being able to tell yourself that you've done a good job, to be proud of what you've done, and that you don't, it's not a case of you deserve to celebrate success. You are allowed to celebrate success. And when you notice and start celebrating success in yourself, you actually start seeing yourself as someone who is successful as opposed to someone who's trying to be successful. And I think there's quite a clear differential there, and something that's quite important. So when we talk about the mindset qualities of successful athletes, we're talking about persistence, you know, that ability to really endure until the end. We're talking about positive realism. So it's not just making the best of a bad situation or a challenge, but it's tempering with that realistic assessment and action based on circumstances. Having humility, so quietly confident in mindset, yet always realistic in assessing strengths and weaknesses. Having vulnerability is a strength, you know, it allows you to strengthen your resolve. We know we can't truly grow until we're strong, until we acknowledge the areas where we're weak. So we all have our weaknesses, and it's that opportunity, if you like, to build on a weakness and turn it into a strength. And of course, you know, lack of regrets. So do everything you can do right now to achieve your goal, and trying your best not to ever look back and regretting that you could have done something differently. Do it differently now and today. Jess Merrison, Australian Olympic athlete in rowing. She's not on the plane. She's in Tokyo right now, about to represent Australia. And I just came across this quote from her, and I thought this just really neatly sort of summed up this reason to celebrate success. It all starts with your mind and perspective, reframing the situation as an opportunity to make gains rather than a loss. You also need to identify motivators. Give yourself goals, practice visualization, and incentivize yourself with rewards. And lastly, you need to look at how you can keep the momentum going week to week. Structure will give you clear direction. Challenge yourself with your friends. Stay connected. Celebrate the small successes and find ways to make training enjoyable. And I think what's so nice about this quote as well is, whilst you can read it thinking about sport, it doesn't have to be about sport. This epitomizes business as well. I don't think there's really any difference between celebrating success as an Olympic athlete or celebrating success as a business owner, or the member of an organisation trying to reach your goal and drive that business forward. And I've just depicted an athlete here who I think we all know and in some ways love as well. We don't know Usain Bolt personally, but he's a he's a household name with the Olympic world records that he's broken. He epitomises what the Olympic gold medalist world record holder should be. He's a great Adonis. He wears his country's colours with absolute pride. He's super proud to be a Jamaican. He's a crowd pleaser. He has the ability to just entertain the hundreds of thousands of people in a stadium who are watching him. And he has these wonderful sort of quirky, yet larrikin almost ways of celebrating his successes. And he sort of has that ability to almost feel like you've broken the world record alongside him. His celebrations are so out there and they're so big and larger than life. And that bottom right-hand corner, I think, is just unbelievable. He celebrates success during a race. He's so unbelievable on his way to breaking a world record and winning a gold medal. He sort of has this ability to have a cheeky sneak to the camera and give us a little smile at the same time. So I think it's also, that sort of nice way of finding a picture or finding that inspiration for yourself that helps you characterize what celebrating success is. So as I mentioned, we would love to hear in the chat box how you celebrate success. We've got quite a bit to cover, so I'm going to keep going, but if you want to share any reasons or any ways that you celebrate success, we'd love to hear about them. So please pop them in the chat box. And even more than that, how do you help your team to celebrate success as well? So we're not just talking about sporting achievements here. We're not just talking about Olympic medals and standing on the Olympic dais. I'll share one with you. At the moment, so I mentioned that I've got a baby girl, Ashley, 19 months. I won't lie, I celebrate success every single time I put her down for a sleep. So every time I have crept out of the room and closed the door and there is no noise, I make myself a cup of tea or I pour myself a glass of wine. I have a small fist pump and I go, yes. And it's very small, and even if she doesn't stay asleep, it doesn't matter, because I've given myself that one tiny opportunity to celebrate success. So again, it doesn't have to be a sporting context, but we'd love to hear, love you to share with us your ways of celebrating success. So moving on to having pride. Now I pulled this photo of my dear friend Ellie Cole, who's depicted there with the Australian prosthetic leg on the second to your left-hand side. She's going to be representing Australia at the Paralympic Games. I've worked with her in London and in Beijing. She's a stellar competitor. She is so incredibly proud to represent Australia. She often uses, she often says, the pride is oozing out of me right now. And I just love this photo of some of the young athletes that I've worked with during the Paralympic Games, showing off their Tokyo 21 gear. You can see the pride, you can see the big smiles, you can see how well they're carrying themselves. They're wearing the green and gold. They've got Australian flags in the background. They're ready to get on the plane for Tokyo. And that pride is just, it's doing wonders for them and for the rest of the nation. So I wanted to delve a little bit deeper into what is it? What is so incredible about pride? Why is it so important? Pride shows that you have a strong sense of self-worth. It shows that you're passionate, that you're content, that you're grateful. People who are proud tend to be excellent motivators for others. When you're proud, you tend to be even more motivated to achieve goals, and therefore that allows you, that sort of increases that feeling of contentment even more. When we deprive ourselves of that feeling of being proud, we tend to not be as happy as we could be. We're not as strong as we could be, and we tend to be dissatisfied. And I think there becomes that sort of vicious cycle of striving desperately to arrive at something, but even when you do, not feeling that happiness that you expected. So I think this is where, and of course, I'm going to ask you to do the same goal with having pride. So get ready to, share with me how you help yourself and your team be proud. But I think it's this notion of, so obviously celebrating success and being proud really tie in together, because they allow you to be proud, celebrate the success of what you do, and then look to achieve the next goal, as opposed to reaching something, achieving something, and finding the negative in it. You know, I could close my daughter's bedroom door and go, oh, well, that was no good because it took me longer to get her down than it should do. Or, oh, that's no good because it's now 11:30 and I should have put her down at 11. You know, I could find all sorts of ways of making it into a negative. But I think it's being proud, giving yourself some sort of gratitude for what you have just achieved. The athlete depicted here on the right-hand side is an athlete called Michael Phelps. Again, he's pretty much a household name, certainly in the world of swimming. He's one of swimming's, if not the world's, most decorated Olympic athletes. Multiple world records, multiple gold medals. And it reminded me of a story when we were on our way to London for the 2012 Olympic Games. We actually had the head coach of the American team came in and gave the entire Swimming Australia and the entire Australian Institute of Sport a motivational speech. Now, bear in mind that America, when it comes to the Olympic Games, America, they go to another level. So at their trials, they do incredibly well, but 75% of the team will swim faster at the Olympic Games than what it took to get them onto the team in the first place. On the whole, other countries don't have that conversion rate. In fact, most other countries around the world, 75% of the team will perform slower than what they did at the Olympic Games. And a very simple question was put to the head coach of the American swim team. He was like, the person asking the question was very simply, what is it? You know, what do you do? What is the golden ticket to America always performing better at the Olympics? And he simply said, the American flag. When I'm giving the swimming team the final pep talk ahead of day one of swimming on the Olympic calendar, he said, all I do, I don't say many words. I don't need to. Everything's already been done. The one thing that I do is I take the American flag into that room and I hold it up. And if I hold the American flag up, in unison, every single athlete will stand up, they'll put their heart on their hand on their chest, on their heart, and they will break into song. They will sing the national anthem. And I couldn't help but think, if we're round at a friend's place for dinner in Australia and someone sort of stand up and held up the Australian flag, I'm pretty sure most people would just go, weird, like, what are you doing? I'm not convinced. We're a proud nation, but I'm not convinced we'd go to that degree of being able to actually break out in song. Now, of course, I'm not expecting you as business owners or, motivators to other people, I'm not expecting you to start waving the Australian flag around the place and hoping that your clients will start breaking into anthem. but what are other ways that we can help to instill pride in ourselves and in our teams? So how can we build pride? You know, I think knowing your self-worth is a really important place to start. So are you able to stand in front of the mirror and say, I am worthy of being the best person I can be. I'm reaching a high standard for myself, and I'm grateful for that. I'm worthy of that. I think that, you know, that word worthy, or those words self-worth, is a really important thing here. We are all worthy of being good people and of being the best person that we can, people that we can be. But do we really give ourselves the opportunity to be that person on a daily basis? You know, figuring out your values. One of my favorite questions to ask people is, what gets you up in the morning? You know, what gives you that light of life? Now, even if it's, you know, the dog needs to go out for a pee, or, you know, I only wake up in the morning these days because Ashley wakes up before me. But what an amazing reason to get out of bed, you know, to get out of bed for my baby girl. I mean, it fills me with an enormous sense of pride that I have this opportunity to raise this incredible little human being. So one of the things that I like to encourage teams to do is to list things that you're already proud of. Because just by tuning into a webinar like this, there's a huge amount of pride here. You know, we heard Lyn's beautiful sort of pump-up speech at the start about this incredible organisation, Businesswomen Australia. You know, you can see how proud she is of this organisation, and I think, I mean, it just, you know, it inspires. It really does. So are you able to list those accomplishments? And just understanding that it doesn't, you know, everyone's goals, everyone's accomplishments are going to be very different from each other's. So it's not about comparing yourself to the person next to you. It's about you and things that make you proud. And then finally, you know, those incremental goals. So a goal doesn't need to be monumental for you to feel good about it. And that's where I really like that little story about making your bed in the morning. You know, it's a very simple task, if you like, to accomplish for the day. But at the same time, well, for me anyway, if I walk into my house and my bed's already made at the end of the day, I feel good about it. I feel good that even if there are loads of washing that need to be done, at least I've made my bed. And that makes me feel proud. How do elite athletes show pride? You know, being able to raise their country's flag by wearing their country's uniform, having the Olympic rings tattooed on the body, which a lot of our Olympic athletes do, representing our own country, being able to break world records. And of course, you know, world records are not just there for sport as well. There are all sorts of business records as well that are waiting to be broken. Contributing to a national medal total, singing the national anthem. You know, for Australia, we also have the opportunity to wear Australia's emblem on. So a lot of our blazers and tracksuit pants have Australia's emblem, which of course is, you know, the kangaroo and the emu as our coat of arms. And a lot of the time I ask people the question, you know, what is it about, why do we have the emu and the kangaroo depicted on the coat of arms? And I'd be really interested if anyone could just, you know, put in a little tick in the chat box to tell me that they do know it, because most people I come across don't actually know this. And I am going to share it with you right now. So get your ticks in super quick. The kangaroo and the emu can't go backwards. Ergonomically, it's impossible for them to go backwards. And so we've put them as our emblem on the Australian flag as a reminder to ourselves to say, hey, we might be a young country. We've got to, you know, we've seen what our Aboriginal heritage is like. It's the oldest culture in the world. But as a country that has been sort of developed, we're incredibly new, we're incredibly young. Yet we're going forwards. We're always going forwards. We're not going to go backwards. And that's why those two animals are depicted on Australia's emblem, which I think is really nice. Again, just a small quote to share. So Olympic track and field athlete, the experience is always emotional. I feel like an ambassador who is really proud, very proud. It is this motivation that makes you want to train at 200% of your abilities. The goal is to satisfy an entire nation. I mean, what a wonderful way to sum up. She's not just doing it for herself. She's doing it for an entire nation. And that's what I'll just share with Lyn. You can see that Lyn's not doing this Businesswomen Australia for herself. She's doing it to bring businesswomen across the entire country together. And again, I think she oozes pride, and it's really special to see. We've just been able to witness, I think one of the most amazing sporting events that we've seen for possibly a long time. And again, one that everyone knows about and is tuned into, and I think is celebrated in their own way, is of course Ash Barty winning Wimbledon. And what an incredible show of pride. She's doing it for women in Australia. She's doing it for female sporting stars. She's doing it for the youth of Australia. She's doing it for Indigenous Australia because she is an Indigenous athlete herself. She's doing it for her Smalls Tennis Club of Ipswich. She's doing it for the world. There is so much pride in this athlete. And not that it probably was a bit of a one-sided match in terms of certainly who Australia wanted to see win. But I think that pride that was oozing out of her was it was something that enabled a lot of people to latch onto. So maybe that's the other thing that I'm getting at is don't ever think that something you achieve in business is for you and yourself alone. It's something that can be, it can be celebrated and that feeling of pride can really trickle down across the nation. And we're about to see that. The Olympic Games is on our doorstep now. It's going to be a bit of a different Olympic Games, but still world records are going to be broken. Australia will win gold medals, and every Australian is going to feel a small sense, and it doesn't matter how small it is, we're going to feel a sense of pride in our athletes and what we can deliver as a nation. So again, love to have your thoughts. Of course, this is all recorded, so we'll be able to go back and captivate all of these comments. But what is it that makes you proud? How do you build pride? And how does your team build pride? And what are some of the lessons that we might be able to take from watching our Olympic and Olympic athletes, elite athletes, celebrate their successes and being proud? How can we take that into our businesses to help our clients, to help our team feel that sense of pride as well? Love to hear your comments. And again, if there's time, we'll delve into some of them. And finally, my last sort of topic is the one around overcoming adversity and building resilience. And I don't know if you know, it's not a very clear photo of who this athlete is, but clearly they are overcoming some sort of adversity and in the process building resilience. But this is Lydia Lasserdon, so one of Australia's incredible winter Olympic athletes. And this was unfortunately one of her knees or her ACLs giving way at an Olympic Games. And of course, there's an incredible story about how she came back to overcome this adversity of having a catastrophic body injury, but being able to build her resilience and coming back to showcase her sport. And actually, one of an incredible story that came out of her journey of overcoming these knee injuries was getting to her final, I think it was her final Olympics. She was in top 3 position. She had 1 jump remaining, and the true story went like this. She could do a trick or do a jump, a safe jump that would guarantee her a medal. gold, silver, or bronze. Or she could do a jump that had never, ever been performed at the Olympic level, but have the possibility of leaving a legacy to the next wave of aspiring athletes behind her. She chose to go down that path. She didn't land the jump perfectly, so she missed out on a medal. However, she goes down in history of doing this incredible, trick, if you like, on the world stage, and leaving this amazing legacy to all the athletes that will come after her to say, think big, be bold, be brave. You can overcome adversity, you can build resilience, and this is proof of that. So I think that was a really neat story to share. So how do we overcome adversity? It's about believing in yourself. It's about making the decision to drop the negative self-talk. Practicing self-compassion is something that I think a lot of us can do better on a daily basis. Changing your response. So not just reacting to situations, but actually responding to situations. Taking responsibility, asking for help. Again, one of the most amazing things that I am now blessed to share is being part of Business Women Australia, is I have this opportunity to put my hand up and ask for help. I've already done that to Lyn a few times. I'm starting to do it to Kathy a few times. And it's, it's actually, as a sole business owner who is, just getting myself started on this business journey, it's actually, it's a really incredible feeling to be able to ask for help and know that I've got support around me. Finding that silver lining, creating your game plan, and of course, adopting an attitude of gratitude. Now, of course, all of these things I could go into in much more detail, but we're not going to have time for that. However, I can't help, Lyn, you're going to have to cut me off if I'm going over, but I can't help but quickly share this story about Stephen Bradbury, who is depicted here. So, Australian Winter Olympic athlete, I'm sure everyone knows part of the story that I'm about to tell you. The story that you know is that he won the gold medal because everybody else fell over. True story. What you might not know is how this story came to fruition. Now, Bradbury didn't have an easy journey getting to this position by any means. About 6 years before this event, he broke his neck on the ice and had to overcome that injury. 4 years before this event, he fell onto the skate in front of him in a race. The skate cut through his femoral artery. His heart rate was 200 beats per minute at the moment, so you can only imagine he lost about 3 litres of blood on the ice. He was probably minutes from death had it been a doctor who was in the crowd jumping into the stadium, putting his hand inside his leg and holding his femoral artery so that he would not continue to lose blood. So Bradbury overcame 2 life-changing injuries to get to this Olympic final as it is. He went into the final very publicly saying, I am not the fastest here. My game plan is to stay at the back. I'm going to stay at the back. I'm going to have a perfect race for myself. And I'm just going to hope that somebody might make a mistake. And if somebody makes a mistake, I might be able to snatch a medal. Of course, what he didn't account for is that everybody would make a mistake and he would take out the gold medal. But, knowing the story behind it, I think just kind of highlights what an absolute incredible achievement that was on his part. So how do athletes build resilience? By being optimistic, by acceptance, accepting situations that can't be changed and letting go of negatives that have happened. Having solution orientation, so accepting the situation, putting it behind them, and then looking forward to formulating clear goals and finding resolutions. Leaving the victim role behind, ceasing to be passive and become active in the relevant situation. Taking responsibility, planning for the future, and having that network orientation. We talk about 6 pillars of resilience, and how confidence, which is that combination of self-belief, control, and strength, is one of your pillars of resilience. Adaptability, flexible thinking, adaptive behaviour, and review, refine. Positivity, avoiding traps, realistic optimism, and steering your energy towards positive goals. Having perspective, having mastery, and having stamina. So again, we could delve into each of these, and I do that in my masterclasses, but these are your 6 pillars of resilience that can help you and your team become that resilient factor. By being resilient and being overcoming adversity, you naturally start establishing what we refer to as a growth mindset. And again, I think one of the athletes has depicted that, just a really beautiful way is Michael Jordan, arguably one of the world's very best basketball players, again, someone you have all heard of before. Now, Michael Jordan wasn't always the star athlete. He was cut from his high school varsity team. He was never recruited to play for his college team. He was passed up during 2 NBA draft picks. But that's why he went on to be so successful. And he's actually quoted as saying, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the winning game shot and I've missed. And that is why I succeed." And again, it just, when I read that every time, it just gives me that sort of natural want to keep going, to keep pushing, to see failure and challenge and defeat as an opportunity for growth, and really realizing that success is that result of preparation, hard work, and learning from your failures. So again, we'd love to hear from you. How can you build resilience? How can you help your team to build resilience? And knowing that, by building resilience, it means that you've overcome some adversities. Having that ability to look at adversities not as your barriers to sort of run into, but as your barriers to jump over and to go further on. One very small last case study that I wanted to share was that of the All Blacks. Again, they're a team that everyone knows about, the New Zealand rugby team. And behind the incredible, the incredible athletes that you see on the rugby field is actually a really unbelievably deep culture. There's a common saying in the All Blacks team that better people lead to better All Blacks. And the All Blacks have gone above and beyond to really create a culture where the honest and authentic self can come through and where safe conflict can exist. And I really like that last bit, because you sort of think, hold on, they're smashing into other men of the same size. There's nothing safe about this. And you're right, on the field itself, it's a dangerous field, but that's okay. On the front line of business, it's a dangerous field. But behind the scenes, as long as that safe conflict can exist behind the scenes, as well as behind the scenes, there's an opportunity for you and your team to be your honest and your authentic self. You can handle those collisions that happen on the front line. So I just think that's a really nice analogy there. And there's so many that we can take, so many small lessons that we can take from the All Blacks culture. And I think one of the ones that really stands out for me is one of the last ones around cleaning the shed. So never be too big to do the little things well. And the All Blacks actually have a traditional culture, or they have a tradition of the senior players, after every single training session, the senior players stay behind and clean the shed. They don't ask the youngsters to do it. They don't ask the cleaners to do it. They don't ask the physios or the coaches to do it. the senior players stay behind and clean the shed. And you know, what an amazing legacy they leave for the young generation. It also reminds me of a story, which again I can't help but share very quickly. Of this is not even sport related. This is President Obama. This is a true story, of course. He is visiting NASA, the Kennedy Space Station. And he comes across a lady in the corridor who is clearly wearing a cleaning apron. She's holding a mop and a bucket. And he says to this lady, you know, what is your role? What are you here to do? And her response is, I'm here to put a man on the moon, which I just thought was fantastic. You know, I'm not here to clean the toilets. I'm here to put a man on the moon. So, you know, never think every part of your organisation is contributing towards the end goal, you know, and I think it's a really nice way of tying in the three concepts that we've been talking about in terms of celebrating success, having pride, overcoming adversity and building resilience. So in summary, with our Tokyo 21 Olympic athletes about to board their Qantas flight to Tokyo, celebrate success, to learn and adapt and to motivate and feel good. Have pride to figure out your values and know your self-worth. Overcome adversity by taking responsibility and believing in yourself and adopting that attitude of gratitude, and build resilience by seeing failure and defeat as an opportunity for growth. So thank you so much for your time. I would love to talk with any of you more so about you know, your business goals and what you're looking to achieve in the short term and the long term. I do motivational speaking, a keynote speaking. I'm a workshop facilitator, masterclass presenter. I delve deeply into lessons learned from elite athletes. You've seen a snippet of that here today, but I'd love to share with you some deeper, delving deeper into that, building high performance teams and developing team culture. So from my sunburnt self in Hawaii, 2004, a fair few years ago, thank you for your time. You know, I look forward to connecting with you and Business Winning Australia as we go forward in this journey together.
Wow. Wow. Oh, wow. We have been having such an incredible deep dive into this. You can just see, Sacha, how much knowledge and expertise you've got that's so relevant to our lives, you know, as individuals and within teams and as team leaders. It's just phenomenal. There's so much in there. Ladies, if you're online, if there's anything that struck you that you would really like Sacha to bring into another webinar next year, perhaps, out of all those different things, if you've got any ideas that can help us with our next one for next year, I'll see if I can convince her to come on board. I mean, this is the keynote that she charges. We are so lucky to have her come and generously give her time. So I can't say enough how grateful I am to have you here, Sacha. It's amazing. I'm just going to share with you some of the chat box stuff. Just it's been really interesting, and we do have time. We've got another 10 minutes or so, but I think I'll get everyone to, if you can stop sharing, Sacha, I'd love to see everyone's faces and ask them, you know, what's coming up for them on, you know, with this. I know for me, I realise that I don't take enough time to celebrate the small successes. For me, that's a really big one, and to really be proud of what I'm achieving. I'm constantly, if I achieve this, I'm always looking at the next thing to do rather than just stopping. Okay, what about others? For those of you who can turn your videos on, if you're able to participate, that'd be great. Or unmute yourself. Maybe Kerry, you and I have been having lots of fun in the chat box there. If you unmute yourself, what's coming up for you? I mean, you come from a learning and development background, so I'm sure there's so much in this.
There is. I think for me, I listen to Sacha, and so much of what Sacha shares is things that I'm passionate about too. So I just go, yes, because I work with a lot of leaders also. And so often that recognition piece is lost, and they want to know, how do I give feedback and change something? but we need to go that step back and give people the pride and all the things you've just talked about, Sacha. So thank you. I really enjoyed it.
Great, pleased.
Yeah, gorgeous. That's so true. As leaders, we're constantly thinking of what needs to be fixed, not just rather than actually really being grateful for what people are actually achieving within our teams. Kathy, what was coming up for you?
Yeah, hi everybody. I think you did a great job, Sacha. Thank you so much. I really liked that you talked about the Navy SEAL that came across my desk last week. And yeah, it's a 20-minute video, but it explains why the SEALs do things. And I think that's really important for people to realise, is why people do stuff. Because we all know that the 6 months training's grueling and that they get no sleep and all the rest of it. And you just think, well, why are they doing that? But his talk actually explains why they do it. And I think that makes a lot more sense to people when they understand why leaders do things. So it's really important not only to give gratitude when they've done well, but let people know why you're doing a particular thing. And it's not just because I'm the boss and I say so. There's a reason behind it. So definitely check out the YouTube video. I have put it in the chat. It is 20 minutes, so make sure you get a cup of tea. But it is so good, so good. So thank you very much, Sacha.
And thanks for
Kathy,
sharing that link.
That's such a
Eliana, what's happening with you? I'm glad you're here with us too. Are you on mute? No, we can't hear you. No, we can't hear you. Sorry, Eliana. What about Dee? Dee, what was coming up for you?
A couple of things, really. I think Bolt is really interesting. Thanks, Sacha, for bringing up the way that he celebrates is just awesome, and just the fact that he's so not pressured into giving up on the personality that he is, not pressured into being like everybody else. I felt like for me that was a huge thing, because I came out of a culture when I was working in the corporate sector where it was always, especially having to be a woman working with lots and lots of men, where you're not heard if you're yourself, and you have to keep adjusting who you are in order to be able to be effective in that environment. Today, there was an article out by all the lady politicians or women politicians. Exactly this. It was an awesome article around, how they called it gender deafness, where you say something in a meeting and then everyone kind of tends to go past it, and then another male colleague says exactly the same thing, and then everyone's, oh yeah, good idea, and you're like, didn't I just say that? Things like that. And then coming into being a leader of my own organization, I had to forget that stuff and rediscover how to just be me, lead the way I lead, like my personality, that I don't need to lead the way everybody else leads. So that was, and that really comes out in the way that Hussein manages things. And I think Ash as well, she knows who she is, that's really.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Such a beautiful character.
Yeah.
Yep. No, very special.
Does my mic work now?
Yes, it does.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. I found that super interesting, especially that these individuals have received like such great feats. And I feel like that that presentation was almost a lot about like the small ongoing like mindset things that have that over time, kind of that big kind of change. One question that I wanted to kind of talk to you about is when you are celebrating like people in the team's success, like there is an issue I have where it's like if you celebrate one person's success, you're worried that the other people are going to feel weird about it, or like there's always that kind of dichotomy that you have to balance of like when there is a team dynamic, making sure that is distributed evenly, if that makes sense.
No, that's a really good point. And look, you know, that's definitely evident in sport as well. So I understand where you're coming out from the business side of things. I think in sport, we probably do quite a good job of not only, we celebrate both. So we make a point of celebrating the individual and we make a point of celebrating the team. So I think I think Ash Barty actually does that really, really well. pretty well in every press conference, she talks about her team. And her team is her close-knit, her coach, her physio, her advisor, you probably heard in the lead up to Wimbledon, she actually maintained quite a significant injury, and she chose not to read the medical reports because she didn't want to sort of have that weighing on her mind. So her team was having to very carefully, keep her buoyed up and keep her going. So she had 4 weeks until Wimbledon. The injury was a 2-month rehab. She didn't have that time, yet she didn't know about that. So her team was able to, keep that piece of information kind of hidden from her. And after Wimbledon, she went through and she individually mentioned each member of the team and the team as a collective. And I think, so you could call tennis, and a lot of people would look at tennis and call tennis an individual sport. And I disagree. I could look at myself and say that I'm a sole trader, which is what I'm classified as. I'm not a sole trader. I couldn't do what I'm doing now without Lyn and Kathy to start with. So I think all of us have that team behind us. We've got our families, we've got our friends, we've got that support network. So I think it's that balance of being able to, highlight the individual who has, and let's be honest, going back to, the cleaner at the Kennedy Space Station, let's celebrate the cleaner, because she is part of a team of getting people to the moon. You don't get people to the moon if the toilets are dirty, right? Oh God, now that COVID's come into play, she's, her position is, she's probably earned a pay rise as well. So I think it's that opportunity to do both, celebrate the individual and then celebrate the team and see those as equals.
Thank you. That was very concise.
Pleasure.
Okay, ladies. Well, we're going to say thank you very much to Sacha, and goodbye to everyone as we wrap up. Love to see you all online again. We have, as you saw, an amazing lineup. This month is a really good one for online events, particularly. And for those of you who have to wait a little bit longer for in-person events, we will get there. I'm very disappointed I'm not flying over to Melbourne this week. It's just, my heart goes out to everyone who's in lockdown. So it's really important. If you know of people in lockdown, if you know of women who want to be connected, just encourage them to jump on. There's no cost to jump on to these events. So it's really important that we keep supporting each other. And it's just great having a chat, let alone learning so much. I've just written down a whole heap of ideas for VWA and for my own team in Hawkins marketing. So brilliant. Thank you so much, Sacha. We'll catch up soon, everyone.
Absolutely. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.